Hey guys, this is Tyler Trinet Nolan here to describe the Black Garden deck. I've been getting a lot of questions on this. Last night someone just sent me a message that made me think of things in a different way. What he asked was, how does the deck win, basically? I didn't have an answer for that. I used to have an answer for that, but over time the answer just seemed bland and nondescript, and not an accurate description of how the deck actually wins. I'll start by reading off the deck count. I'm playing 3 Volcanic Shells, 3 Volcanic Rockets, 2 Amazona Sage, which is a newer addition to the deck after I read someone's tournament report. Basically, it and Don Zaloog allow for near complete control of their hand and field. I'm playing 2 Sazank, which in the early game is a card that lets you simplify the game down, make them run out of monsters, and in the late game he can be a good panic button under Black Garden if they get the first set, which I'll talk about later. 2 Don Zaloogs, 2 Dekoichis, which is a very strong late game card and a good setup gate card in the early game. 1 Spirit Reaper, which is also a new addition that I'm testing out. I'm not sure how good it's going to work, but it seems pretty strong on paper. You can go like turn 1 Reaper, bait him out into a Blaze Accelerator drop. 1 Card Trooper, 1 Blackwing Gale, 1 Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is good because under Cold Wave, the deck loses. Effect Veiler lets you not lose as hard under Cold Wave. Move on to the spell traps. Sorry, working with the tripod here. Playing 3 Black Gardens. Black Garden is a card that I used to consider extremely important to how the deck wins. Now I'm considering it's another piece of the deck. Another card that allows you to take the game. It's not necessary like I used to think it was. My playstyle's evolved over time while running this. It used to be turn 1 Black Garden, play a bunch of stuff packs, and hope that they don't out my field. Now it's more conservative, like set Dekoichi, set a couple backfield, and hold the garden in my hand so that I can play the Black Garden later in the game after they waste all their removal. 2 Pot of Duality, who has a very strange relationship with this deck. Decks like Gravekeepers use it to dig for combos, like Torrential Tribute Necker Valley. Well, I use it so I don't clump. I'm playing 42 cards so that I don't draw multiple shells or multiple Black Gardens, both of which are terrible to draw too many of. I'm playing 2 Book of Moon, because Book of Moon is extremely strong in any deck, especially in something like this, where you can book down Sazank, you can book down Dekoichi, you can book down Don Zaloog if they attack it with something, book down Volcanic Rocket because he searches off flip summons, etc. 2 Blaze Accelerator, which I think is... Earlier this format, I didn't play it because I thought Dark Soul was too prevalent. Now, I wouldn't play the deck without it. Even though Recruiter is a new threat, you can usually read the Recruiter and hit the Spy rather than the Recruiter. If you hit the Spy, it's game ending. Like, Gravekeepers don't come back after you Blaze Accelerator the Spy and play Black Garden over the Necker Valley. They just can't do anything. They've wasted so many cards and you haven't done anything to lose cards. I'm playing 3-Dimensional Prison. No Mirror Forces. Mirror Force loses to Recruiter, it loses to random Dark Soul attacks. People have been doing a lot on me lately. I just feel Dimensional Prison's a stronger card than Mirror Force. There's too many things that affect the graveyard. I'd rather have removed from play. 2 Raigeki Break. I'm playing Raigeki Break instead of MST. MST, I do not like this format. Well, not in this deck, I should say. I like it as... that was bad. I don't like MST in this deck, because the deck doesn't care about spell traps. Usually you can bait them with your monsters, rather than be forced to play cards like MST, which don't do anything towards field control. You have cards like Amazona Sage now to deal with back rows. You have Don Zaloogs, which baits the Dimensional Prison, the Mirror Force, the Book of Moons. You have Volcanic Rockets, which bait their Dust Tornadoes on the Blaze Accelerators. You can chain Raigeki Break to the Decree if you need to. For game 1. Just Decree is a huge problem. 2 Bottomless Trap Holes, because Bottomless Trap Hole and Black Garden, you can still Bottomless under Black Garden, because Black Garden triggers rather than... it's not continuous. So if they summon a monster under Black Garden, it's just say Caius. You can still play the Bottomless Trap Hole on the Caius. Another note on that, if you have Black Garden, they summon Caius, target the Black Garden. Black Garden is Chainlink 2, Caius is Chainlink 1. So the Black Garden resolves, you get the token, Caius is halved, then Caius goes to remove the Black Garden. Turn player mandatory versus non-turn player mandatory. 1 Torrential, 1 Starlight Road, Black Rose Dragon, Hunlai, Icarus Attack. All these are huge threats. Skyzaris even. 2 Solemn Warning. Stops everything right now. Even if the life point cost seems like it would be big with Shell, it's not as big as people would think. 1 Solemn Judgment. It's Solemn Judgment. Decks like this allows you to protect the garden, protect your backfield, protect your field, and just hold field control in general. Now, onto the question of how the deck actually wins. I used to say the deck won by gaining tempo and card advantage, and that's accurate, but it's more of how I get to the end game rather than how I win in the end game. Getting to the end game is the easy part. You set your Dekoichis, you set your Sazanks, you try not to waste cards. I worded that really wrong. Getting to the end game is the hard part. Playing the end game is the easy part. To get to the end game, you want to not waste anything. Just like with any other deck. You don't want to play the Black Gardens until you need to. You don't want to waste your backfields if you can attack over it. Remember that Volcanic Shells are free, while your Dimensional Prisms cost a card. Sazank kills stuff 1 for 1, rather than having to waste a backfield. Backfields are generally more important than your monsters. Or Blaze Accelerator is completely unimportant. If you can get them to waste cards to destroy Blaze Accelerator, that's huge. Amazon of Sage works in conjunction with Don Zaloog. I just realized Amazon of Sage existed, to be honest. I used to consider Cliff the Trap Remover and Mene the Thorn, until I realized that Mene the Thorn doesn't search Don Zaloog, which made it iffy, and Cliff is really small. Amazon of Sage, on the other hand, has 14 attack. It does the same thing as Cliff the Trap Remover, really, except I can't play Mene to search it. I'm considering playing a Reinforcement of the Army, but I wouldn't know what monster to cut for it. I might cut the Spirit Reaper, just because but I want to test with it first. Dekoichi, as I said, is more of a late game card. If you go set Dekoichi, just set Dekoichi in the end game with Black Garden on the field. Whoa, I don't know if you can see this. Set Dekoichi with Black Garden on the field. They're forced to set a monster, because if they summon a monster under Black Garden, they're going to give me a token, and they're probably going to lose their monster, and their monster's probably smaller than the Dekoichi's 1000 defense. They set a monster, you flip Dekoichi, and your draw phase, you suddenly have 2 cards plus Dekoichi to their 1 monster. Dekoichi can then attack over their set monster, because 14 attack is usually bigger than most defenses in this game right now. There's also the idea of Garden Lock, which involves having Blaze Accelerator engine with Black Garden on the field. Consider this for a second. Both fields are clear. They have however many cards in hand you want. You have Blaze Accelerator and a Volcanic Shell, and the Black Garden on the field. They can't summon a monster because they lose it to the token, really, or they lose it to a backfield you might have. If they set a monster, they lose it to the Blaze Accelerator. This gives you 3 turns grace period to draw a monster, set a monster, and get the first flip summon, which is extraordinarily important in a deck like this. The main goal is to have Black Garden on the field, and either Don Zaloog, Sage, or Volcanic Rocket, or even Spirit Reaper, really, just poking at their life points until they lose. Black Garden forces them to set stuff, Blaze Accelerator punishes their sets. While Volcanic Rocket punishes their punishes their life points, Don Zaloog punishes their life points in their hand, Amazon of Sage punishes their back row and their life points. Everything works together. The deck is a pile of random, as he's been calling it, synergy. Everything works together. Don Zaloog simplifies, Dekoichi makes more complex. In the early game, you're generally going to leave it with an extreme life point deficit. But that turns around really quick. Mostly because you used Solemn Warnings and stuff before playing the Black Gardens. The life point differential turns around real quick when they start running out of monsters. And you still have most of your monsters because you've been saving them. All of a sudden it can look from you have 2,000 life points to their 8,000 life points. You finally get a monster summoned through, play Black Garden, poke, and they can't do anything to respond to it. The idea of tempo, abusing normal summons, being able to control your opponent's by-turn actions. You control their normal summons with Blaze Accelerators and Black Garden. You control their draw phase with Don Zaloog and Amazon Sage. You control their power cards, really, with Effect Veilers and Judgment and Starlight Road. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. Then moving on to the side and extra deck. I think that's visible. I'm playing 2 Banisher of the Radiance. For decks like Lightsworn and Quick Draw. Occasional side in versus Sabers. I usually will. I would main it, and I'd probably side a third. But Blackwings are a huge problem. It's just a dead card versus Blackwings. I'm playing 2 Break of the Magical Warrior, because Decree eats my soul. Like, I don't have many outs to Decree. Or at least I didn't. Now I'm playing Amazon Sage. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm hoping it's going to be really good. I'm playing 2 DD Crow. I was only playing 1 DD Crow before. Then I realized the Breeze is a hugely difficult matchup. I thought it was going to be really easy. Until, like, all of a sudden it just thwomped. Like, I can't deal with all the fluff tokens. It buys them too much time to... Like, I'm forced to summon monsters to kill their fluff tokens while they're doing nothing. They're just drawing more cards while I'm wasting resources to try to deal damage. 2 Nobleman of Crossout to addition to the 1 main one that I'm playing. In order to hit the spies, hit the recruiters, hit the dandelion. It's good against everything. I sided in versus Gravekeepers and Dandelion and Debris or Quick Draw decks. It's especially good in the main board because Black Garden forces people to set cards, as I said earlier, or they start losing things to the tokens. I'm playing 1 Summoning Curse. I really wanted to test around with this. It's really good at making them just set their hand. I've been siding it versus Debris because of how many special summons they do while trying to keep their advantage up. They can't go like discard Dandelion, Quick Draw, and then suddenly lose their entire hand, making the Drill Warrior play or whatever other play they had dead. 1 of Raiko I might drop for the 3rd Banisher or something. It's good against Gladiators. I've been siding it against Gravekeepers to the Necker Valley, etc. 1 Starlight Road. I've been siding this for Blackwings and X-Sabers. It's overall... I haven't played many Blackwings with the deck lately, because no one's been playing it at all in this area. It's a card that turns the game around. They play Icarus Attack, you play Starlight Road. If they don't have a response, you win. It can be that simple sometimes. Oftentimes it isn't, but sometimes you can just win the game off that. I'm siding the 1 Mirror Force for Blackwings, for X-Sabers sometimes, for just random anti-meta decks, to be honest. I side that in. 1 Raigeki Break for... I think against a lot of decks. Anytime I think I need it. Like, I definitely sided in against Gravekeepers. I sometimes sided in versus Sabers. Usually against Blackwings, usually against anti-meta decks. Always if I think they're siding in Decrees, because I can change it to the Decree. Yeah. 1 Compavac for Debris and Scraps. Scraps are scary. Scraps are really scary. I think I've lost to Scraps more than any other deck. 1 Duradark for Blackwings and for sometimes Gravekeepers. It just turns the game around. Even if they have protection, Duradark still kills their monster. The extra deck is pretty standard. It's just 1 Mistworm, 2 Stardust Dragons, 1 Scrap Dragon, 1 Scrap Archfiend, 1 Karakuri Shogun Beret, 1 Black Rose Dragon, 1 Arcanite Magician, 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, which lets me kill their Necker Valley, search my deck for Black Garden. Yeah. 1 Gaia Guardian, 1 Brionic, 1 Cataster, 1 Magical Android, 1 Armory Arm, and 1 Chimera-Tech Fortress Dragon. Chimera-Tech Fortress Dragon might look weird because I don't have any Cyber Dragons in this deck, but you'd be shocked at how many people just like go Cyber Dragon Gadget, attack, pass, and then just leave the Chimera-Tech play open. Or I can go, if they have a Cyber Dragon, I can summon either Karakuri Ninja or Dekoichi to Chimera-Tech up. It just gives me more outs to the random Cyber Dragon drops that people have been doing for against this deck. I'd honestly side out Cyber Dragon against this just because of how easy it is to gain advantage off of. So, versus other decks. Against Debris, I know how I said earlier that I don't usually go for the turn 1 Garden because it's greedy. But against Debris, you can go for it. Because if they go set 1, set a back row pass, it's either Dandelion or Raikou. If it's a Dandelion dies, you get token, you attack over a token, they lose Dandelion and one of the fluff tokens, and you gain a token, and you have whatever monster you attacked with. If it's a Raikou, they pop the Black Garden, and you got rid of the Raikou without losing anything hugely important. Volcanic, using Blaze Accelerator against random sets in that matchup is probably not the best play because of Dandelion, unless you have the Black Garden on the field to capitalize off that. For example, if you have Black Garden, Blaze Accelerator, discard Shell to destroy the set. It's either Raikou, and you got rid of the Raikou for free, which is important to do, or you got rid of the Dandelion, they get 2 fluff tokens, you get an 800 attack token, and I'd probably argue that's in your favor. Okay, against Blackwings, you go... The important part is to get the Blaze Accelerator engine running. If you can keep killing their monsters for free without losing the Icarus attack, or you can keep baiting the Icarus attacks if you use in the early game, you're probably going to win in the end game. Blackwings have an awful endgame against this deck, mostly because of Amazon Stage now. I definitely like that idea. Sazank is important because it simplifies their monsters down. Blackwings don't run many monsters. If you can kill off their monsters for cheap or for free, you're going to translate that into a winning endgame really fast, just by monster advantage. Black Garden can be important in the late game in that matchup, just because all your monsters are huge and all their monsters are small. They have nothing they can capitalize off when they set. If you go summon, set Don Zaloog, pass. They can go, if they still have Icarus attack, you're in trouble, but really you're just going to lose Black Garden, they're going to lose a monster, you're going to lose a monster. They lost a monster, their monsters are more important than your monsters, you lose Black Garden and a monster. I'd argue you're winning that trade. There's no way to really gain advantage off an Icarus attack. There's way to simplify the game. Against Sabers, definitely hold the Black Garden. You don't want to just early game drop Black Garden. They can capitalize off that with Emer's Blades, with Dark Souls. It can just turn this game around really fast if they get a Hunlai drop off. Because Hunlai is optional, so Black Garden will not have a Hunlai if they summon it. It's important to note that Black Garden takes away priority, so if they go Judgment Dragon or Dark Arm Dragon, you can play Bottomless Trapple before they have the ability to use their effect. It's a random fact to throw in there. Against Scraps, you scoop. That's been my experience. I'm like 0x against Scraps. In games, really. Like, Scrapstorm is so stupid. That's part what the crows are for, to be honest, in the sideboard. What am I forgetting here? I know I'm forgetting something. Gladiator Beasts, you auto-win. Blaze Accelerator tears them apart. Again, they're a deck with low monster count. Any deck that doesn't have monsters that replace themselves, or monsters that gain advantage immediately, will just flat out scoop. Just like Stun. Stun, you can't lose to. If you lose to Stun, you're awful. I'm saying that right now. Big monsters, Gladiators have a problem getting over Volcanic Rockets. Then they have a problem getting rid of the Blaze Accelerators. Then they have a problem dealing with the Black Garden drops. Then they have a problem dealing with all the Sazanks killing their monsters that are trying to attack. The Amazon Sage is tearing their back rows up. Don Zaloog is eating their hand away. And suddenly you have like +8 on them and they can't do a damn thing. Yeah, I think that's all there is to say. Like, really, the deck's about taking away their monster count, then eating their hand away, then taking complete field control with back rows plus Black Garden. Gain advantage in the late game with Dekoichis, simplified the game further with Don Zaloog, Sages, and sometimes Sazanks. Pot of Avarice to keep everything flowing. And I'm up to like 20 minutes. I have no idea if this is all how I'm gonna do this, but yeah, I'll try to upload this soon. Thanks guys. I don't have a catchy end of video phrase, so see you later, I guess.